Good afternoon, Gossip Talk Shows family. It's Nomsa here at Gossip Talk Shows. Find your own voice, lead from within. With me today, I'm with Amanda Murray. How are you, Amanda?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, 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 good. What's the time there?
6 a.m.
Oh no,
Early.
no, it's early, 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 early. But sometimes it's good to work in the morning and then it's over and done with.
Yeah.
So our topic today is how to go from good to great, raising the bar, transitioning from good to great in any endeavor requires a strategic approach, consistent effort, and a mindset focus on continuous improvement. So today, guys, we're going to share with you how you can raise the bar and achieve greatness. What do you think about the topic, Amanda?
I really like this topic because I think so often lots of people are just like, okay, I'm good, things are good, or they look good on the outside, and maybe internally we're really struggling. But to really raise the bar from something that's like mediocre to something that's really good takes a conscious effort, and it takes us really like resetting how we're showing up in the world. And so what do you think, Nomza? How do you go from good to great? Do you show up differently in the world, or you just keep plugging along, or does some miracle happen that just like shifts everything and you're like, yes, this is what was I was always waiting for? Or is it an effort and a conscious choice to go from good to great? You're muted.
I just feel everything that I have to do, I have to make an effort. Like you said, Amanda, I have to be consistent, and I have to make sure that I stay focused. My mindset stays in the present moment, so I can achieve whatever I want to achieve in life. So I don't know. And also, I like what you said because if we just feel that well, we show up like as we are okay, but inside we are not really okay. Because there are some people like what you said, they show up in the world, they're like, I'm okay, I'm happy, but inside they want to achieve more, but they can't do the work. So for me, I don't wait for miracle. Miracle happens, but after I've done the work. I gotta do action. I gotta take action. What about you, Amanda?
Yeah, I think with anything, it's even just like learning how to raise our vibration and how to vibrate differently in the world, right? And if we are still doing the same patterns over and over and over again, then we're going to show up the same way. So our lives are going to just show up kind of like Groundhog Day over and over and over again, unless we're consciously doing something to shift things in our lives. And so when we want to go from good to great and raise the bar, it's about consistent effort, and it's about showing up consistently over and over and over again, trying to level up, right? And so I think for myself, so much of my going from like things are good to things are really great are when I show up on a consistent basis, right? And so if I want to achieve something, I have to not just be like excited about the idea at the beginning, I have to actually like follow through and work really hard all the way through to get to where I want to be, to write that book. Like there's so many people, it says something, I did the research before on it, and it was like 90% of people or something want to write a book in their life, but only like 0.02% of us, I forget the exact stats, but it's quite significant, actually go through and follow through to write their book. And then why is that? What stops us along the way? Right. And so when we are trying to show up differently in the world, it's not about the excitement right at the start of this like new idea. It's about our consistency to show up every single day in order to go from start to finish and to actually complete it. Because that completion piece, it's part like going from good to great is also like learning how to enjoy the journey along the way. It's not just the end point, right? But when we set a goal, we have to use consistent effort to get there, and to not let other people or other things show up and be like, well, why would you want to do that? That's stupid. Or just ignoring the people that say that and just doing it anyways if it's something that you really want to achieve. Because I know for myself, when I really have set my mind to something, I have been able to achieve it, and I just have to ignore other people along the way that are naysayers or saying something that like, why would you want to do that? That doesn't make any sense unless you're going to make more money, or you're going to do this or you're going to do that with it. And so I think when we're approaching like leveling ourselves up, we have to look at like what sort of strategies can we do to level ourselves up. And I know there's people that work consistently over and over and over again, but so much of what's showing up for us is our mindset and how we show up in the world. And when you're looking for negatives show up, and then when you're looking for positives show up, and when you're looking for loving situations, love shows up. But if you're looking for whatever it is that you're looking for, it tends to show up over and over and over again. It's like the saying where they talk about if you're looking for a new car and you're looking for a red car in particular, or a white car or whatever, you'll start seeing that type of car all over the place because that's what your mind is like focused on, or subconsciously you're focused on it. So it'll keep showing up over and over and over again. And so I think when we want to go from good to great, it's really so much about our mindset, and then how we're choosing to show up in the world, and choosing to show up with that altered mindset of a great mindset is what's going to actually raise the bar for us.
I like that, Amanda. I like that when you say show up differently, and you say something like shift and then level up. And if you want to do something and follow through what you said you would do, I think is very, very important. Not every people, they want success, but they're not willing to do the work. And sometimes the work might require you to have less hours sleep for the beginning, and then you catch up later, or it might take you away from pleasure, because like we like going out, we like mingling with our friends. Sometimes if you want success, it might take you away from other people. And Amanda, I like the way when you were saying that sometimes the people might talk you out of what you want to do in life. And people do, they will be like, why do you feel that you have to do that? And they will start judging you. Some people, they will stop everything they are meant to become just to please the other people. But you don't have to do that. You can just be the person that you were created to be and follow your dreams. And then the most important thing is cultivating a growth mindset and embracing the challenge along the way. Because I'm sure, Amanda, as a writer, you have experienced challenges and going through writing, but you've rise above those challenges. And also, when we view challenges, we see them as an opportunity, and just step out of your comfort zone so you can push your limit and develop new skills as well at the same time. So what has helped you, Amanda, like when you are like going through challenges and stuff? Um, like going through challenges, and then you get stuck, and then how have you been able to get out of that place, climb the mountain and be on the other side?
I definitely think I get stuck at certain points for sure. And one of the things that I do when I get stuck is I like veg. I totally veg and like binge watch Netflix, and like definitely because I'm a teacher in the start of summer, I was like so exhausted and so wiped out from the school year that I just like every time we were at home in the evening, it just like was binge watching Netflix because I was so tired. And I think that like gets me stuck in a rut a little bit. And sometimes I think routine actually really helps us raise the bar because we can add something simple onto our day when we're in a routine. And so even now that I've just like been back at work for a couple of days, I've like restarted writing in my like goals and gratitude journal, because the summer I just was like, I wrote in it for a while and then I finished one book and like a 90-day session, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to take a break. I just need a break. and and I think that the breaks actually help refresh you too in some ways, or they help you be like, okay, I need to get back on track. Because then now that I've been back at work, I restarted doing my goals and gratitude journal, and each day I've been achieving the like 3 things that I set out to achieve that day. Whereas all summer long, I had like 2 months off and I like barely achieved any of the goals that I wrote down, because it was just like, I just need a break. And I didn't write things down each and every day. And I really didn't accomplish a lot, whereas I should have been able to accomplish a lot in that amount of time. But I think sometimes we need to recognize when it is that we just need a break and when we need to pick ourselves up and like get ourselves back on track. And so having 2 months off and being like, oh, I didn't really get much of my goals done other than like my writing my blog once a week. There was like other things that I really intended to do, and those things didn't happen. And part of it was because I got out of my routine of like writing down 3 things that I want to accomplish each and every day, and then holding myself accountable to actually doing them, and then setting my 30-day goals and my like weekly goals. And so I think when we want to go from good to great, it really has to be consistency and intentional consistency, and being willing to hold yourself accountable or get somebody who is going to be an accountability partner. So they say if you want to like start going to the gym, then you should go with somebody, because if you have to meet somebody else there, you're more likely to show up because you don't want to let the other person down. And so when you are starting to change your routine, it's really good to have somebody that's going to hold you accountable so that you actually do it even when you don't feel like showing up. And so for myself, I know like when I write things down, I'm so much more likely to actually make sure that I do it and go back and check, am I on the right track? And so writing things down is even something like so simple that allows us to achieve it, because it's not just in our heads. We wrote it down and that's going to hold us that little bit more accountable. And then also you get that like little bit of euphoria when you're like, check, I checked that off my box. It's done. Maybe it's just super A-type personalities who like get that like little hit of dopamine every time you check the box. But like sometimes it's even like, oh, I did this extra thing too. I'll add that box in just so I can do the check mark. Right? Because we have to like give ourselves a little bit of motivation to keep going. And I really think when we go from good to great too, we start to recognize the things that are like really not that important and the things that are actually filling our cup. So you could be working really, really hard at something that you hate, and you're going to just keep hating it no matter how hard you work at it, because it's not something that you truly love or are passionate about. And so I think that finding our passion is kind of one of the most important things from about going from good to great, because when we find our passion, and Sir Ken Robinson wrote a whole bunch about creativity and finding our passion and learning how to live in the element. And when we do that, and when we show up that way, things start to work for us. When we're grinding and like bumping against things and trying to do things just because other people told us that this is how you're supposed to show up in life, it actually isn't. And that how finding your element is the name of one of his book can actually change everything. And his TED Talk is actually one of the most watched TED Talks in history, and I'm not sure if it still is, but last time I checked it was. And his TED Talk was called How Schools Kill Creativity, or it was about schools killing creativity. I can't remember the exact title of that TED Talk, but he really examined how so many of us are so creative, and that we allow societal norms to fit us into these boxes that we really aren't meant to be fit into. And I think that's something that's really, really important to analyze for yourself is, are you trying to fit into the societal box, or are you allowing finding your element so that you can change everything? And that would really raise it from good to something great because you're doing something that you're truly meant to do. And I think we really need to ask ourselves that is, are we in our element in whatever it is that we're doing and showing up in? And if we're not, what is it that we need to shift and change? And sometimes one of those things is looking back to our childhood and looking at what is it that I really loved to do when I was a kid? What's something that you really love to do as a kid, Nomza, that you're like, oh, it just like fills my cup now, even as an adult?
Me, what I loved to do is music. I will sometimes I'll hang out with I used to hang out with my grandparents, not my friends when I was growing up. I had friends, but I'll hang out with my friends at school. When I'm at home, I'll hang out with my grandparents and ask questions. When I'm done with them, I will just go under the tree. I will just write music. Because the music is what I did. I used to go to bed from the age of 8. I used to go to bed at 1 a.m. or 12 a.m. Like sometimes my granddad, I don't know where I got the energy from, but my granddad used to train me, and my family, my parents would just let him. So music is what I love to do, and just asking my family questions about marriage. Everything that I do now is the things that I used to do when I was growing up. And just like when I was 10, I started my own business selling kitchenware. And if someone comes and buy things, I'll offer them to deliver their things. But then when I get there, they'll be like, I'll be like, you need to pay the charges for me to come to yours. And they'll be like, but you offered. I'll be like, you never asked if I'm going to charge you the delivery. So here I am, you got to pay me. And they will look at me and they'll be like, look at this child you witness his daughter. And they'll be like, okay, you take the money. And I'll be so innocent because that's what my dad was teaching me. So I just love business. What I do, I just love it. But it comes with a price, like Amanda, you said. Sometimes you might have to have people that might judge you, people that might say, do you have to do what you do? But the only problem with me, my attitude is from a very young age, I've trained myself that if you don't like what I do, I don't hang out with you. So I don't force myself to fit in. I tried to fit in when I was in my 20s, like up to the age of, I think I was 24, up to the age of 28 for 4 years. It didn't work out well. So I just felt so frustrated every single day. But then I made a vow to myself that I'll never try to fit in. What I do is I first, when I'm beginning a project, I'll get somebody to hold me accountable. And once that person holds me accountable, and after a few months I don't need them anymore, I just have to make a promise to myself that this is what I have to do. If I don't do this, I have to imagine if I don't do it, no one is going to do it. If I don't believe in myself, no one is going to believe in me. So those are the things which is a really, really tough attitude. And some of it, the attitude that I use is when I was playing football. When I go into the pitch, I will just imagine myself like sometimes I'll have friends from the opposite team, but then in that moment, I will know that we are enemies. And in order for me to win, I need to know why I'm here. And then after I finish, then my mindset will switch. Now we can be friends because we finished the game. And through that moment, I know that I cannot lose the game if I know that these people are my enemies. So all those things, like now that I don't play football, I'm not on the pitch. So if I go and see, like if I go to a meeting, I have to know that that person that I'm going to meet, they might have different opinions about my business. Is it bad to have different opinions? No, it's not bad. So what I do is I listen to their critiques. I then use that critiques if it's a good one, I use it to develop my business. And most of the time, people that contact me on social media, they say, "Oh, no, I don't like this. I don't like that." I pay attention. I speak to them and say, "Come on Zoom. Tell me what don't you like about this?" And they tell me, I just write down. People actually giving me ideas of how to build my business properly. So, yeah, so I don't have the time of negativity, and I don't have the time like I have to, like Amanda, you said recognize the things that are important. And for me, God is important to me. Whenever I'm desperate, like you mentioned that sometimes we get stuck and we have to, sometimes you binge watch Netflix. Me, I don't binge watch Netflix. I got mad. Honestly, I I get into the house and I just hit the pillows if I feel so frustrated. And when I feel the pillows, hit the pillows because I need a solution. And the Holy Spirit will be like, okay, Nomsa, stop now. Go to your computer. And now we'll be giving me the solution. Go to your computer and go to this. And that's where you find the solution. Because, like, sometimes I pray and God goes quiet, doesn't reply for a day or 2 days or 5 days. And I'm like, okay, so what do I do? And then I get so frustrated. And then the Holy Spirit will respond now to show me that just because I'm quiet, it doesn't mean I'm not listening to you. I'm listening to you, but you have to be patient. So it's just teaching me to be patient. Or sometimes, like I'm studying positive intelligence, I'm learning to zip it now. Before, I get really upset when somebody says negativity to me. I'll respond and really get upset. But now what I do is I try to find the positivity with that statement. Whatever statement they say, I find something positive about it and use that to get a gift, to gift myself with something. Because if you listen to people, everything they say sometimes it teaches us something. So I don't know about you, Amanda.
Yeah, I think that so much of it is like learning from our failures, right? And
Yeah.
being able to be like, okay, what was it that I learned in that experience, and then how can I grow from there? Because I think some of us too, we get stuck because we're afraid of failure. But there's a whole bunch of talk in like the education world about like failing forward, right? And I've talked before on here about like this event that I learned about that they have all over the world, and it's called Fuck Up Nights, and how these entrepreneurs go in and they essentially talk about some of their screw ups, and how those screw ups actually like empowered and helped them uplift themselves, and how we like can look back on our failures and be like, wow, there was so much growth in that, and so much of how I was able to show up differently in this world because of that experience and because of what I had to learn and morph through. And I think that in our lives too, that if we don't learn from that mistake, we're just doomed to repeat it in a different way, and then doomed to repeat it again and again and again. Right. And so when we show up differently, it's because we've actually learned the lesson that we meant to learn in that point in time. Otherwise, we're just doomed to repeat it over and over and over again. And I know that shows up in relationships too. So when I think about like a good relationship versus a great relationship, that one that's like raising the bar is like so many people are stuck in relationships where they're like, meh, like it's okay, right? Things are okay. They're not great, but they're okay. And then they just stay in this like, this is where we're at spot because they're afraid of what would happen if they change things, right? Or if they raise the bar, if they raise their vibration, how would that show up differently in their lives? And I think sometimes too, like I was talking with a girlfriend the other day, and we were talking about relationships a little bit, and I just said like I'm not willing to stay in a relationship with somebody that I'm not in love with. And like I can love somebody and be like very happy for them and be like, I'm really grateful that you're in my life and that we had the experience that we had. But if I'm not in love with them, I'm not going to continue the relationship just because like I hold love space for them, because being in love with somebody and loving someone are two very different things. And I just said like I'm not willing to just continue something unless I'm truly in love with them. And she was like, wow, that's like really powerful. And she's like, I'm not strong enough to do that. I'm not strong enough to leave this relationship where I like care about this person, but I'm not in love with them. And I was like, wow, there's so many people I know even that are in that situation where they're like, oh, things are good, but they're not actually truly great. And it's because they're either not willing to have the conversations that are necessary to have, or they're not willing to leave in order to be open enough to end up in that really great relationship, right? Or that really great space where they feel that they're in a space where they can attract the person that's going to be really great for them. Because I know at times in my life, like you attract the type of person that's vibrating at your vibration, right? And so if you level up to a new vibration, you're going to attract different people. And so when you want to attract a certain type of person, you also have to raise your vibration to that vibration as well. So if you want somebody that's active, that reads, that goes to the gym, that like does different things and that's working on themselves, then you actually have to step up and do those things too. Otherwise, you're never going to meet that person, right? I don't know, you're a dating coach, Nomza. Maybe I'm like talking and not actually making any sense for what you know in your expertise. But for me, I truly believe that so many people are just stuck in this like, oh, it's good enough, when things could actually really be great if we just chose to shift things a little bit or be willing to have those hard conversations that sometimes we avoid.
It is painful to be with somebody that you feel that you shouldn't be with them. It's not easy. It's very, very painful. That's why some people, they are married, they end up being on depression, antidepressant tablet because of the relationship where they've put themselves in that situation. And some, they have children, and with that person, they look at their children, they're like, we have to do this for our children. For me, I always say never stay with somebody as an option. It's not right to stay with somebody because the children can feel it if that person treats you as an option. For me, I was talking to my spouse the other day, and he was like, I go to church once a week, and then once like in once a month we'll have a night vigil where we go to church like all night. So it was like, you go to church too much, meet this church business. I was like, listen, if you don't like me going to church, you got to think about your feelings, because your feelings are the most important thing anyone can ever imagine. In order for you to be happy, that is where you share your happiness with me. So if you feel that this business with God is not good enough for you, it's not for you, I'm not willing to trade God for you. And I was like, what? And I was like, yep, I'm not willing to trade God for you. And I was like, that very moment when Lucifer wanted to take my life, it was one man who came to get me out of that situation. So every time I look at my family, when my family members are sick, I had to learn to go into the realms. And if my family are sick, I will ask for mercy on their behalf, for God to intervene and heal them. I was like, how there are so many people that I have actually gone to the realm and plead on their behalf. Sometimes I get attacked, and you telling me that I have to trade you for God. I was like, I ain't doing that. And at the same time, I was like, you got to do what is right for you. And he thought I was really joking, but I was serious. Because to me, Amanda is a relationship coach. And then I said to him, one other thing that I said to him, I was like, are you sure this problem is about God? Because I don't think it's about God or anything. And I was like, you need to search it through your heart. and really be honest with yourself and find out what makes you feel the way you feel. Because when I'm like studying the a positive psych intelligence, sometimes we use other things as an excuse to make us feel better. So I was like, you need to search yourself. Why do you feel that way? Because for me, if I was feeling the way I'm feeling, I'll search through my feelings and truly and be honest. And when I'm being honest, then that's when I get my answers. And he just looked at me and he was like, he thought I was joking. And I was like, I'm not joking. I've learned this the hard way that sometimes it's easy to look through your heart and look through your feelings. And I was like, sometimes it might be, is there something that you're searching through, but you have not find that with me. So now it's time to face your feelings as a man. And he just looking at me is like, you are just, and it was like, I didn't mean that way. I was like, oh yes, you meant that way. You got to search it through. And I believe that, Amanda, to me, there are so many people that are living in a relationship for the sake of having a ring on it, or for the sake of having a husband or having a wife, or for the sake of having a spouse. And that puts people in depression. They're not happy.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think sometimes we settle, right? We settle for good when, or good enough when, and then it actually isn't something, and then we regret it down the road, right? When you settle, when you know in your heart that something isn't 100% like great, then down the road you're like, oh, I settled, and this is killing me inside, and until we're willing to like step up and actually have those conversations around that, things aren't going to change, right? And so when you're coaching somebody, Nomza, on like a good relationship versus a great relationship, what would that like look like?
A good relationship is somebody that accepts themselves for who they are, and they recognize somebody that they're dating. Because if somebody is wounded, you can recognize that. And for me, a good relationship is where unapologetic, you put yourself first, your needs first, and then you share the love with the other person. When you speak about them, you speak about them with joy and say, you know what, I love my wife, she's this, she's that. But if there is any negativity, anything, any doubt in that relationship, that means you have to look into it. We have to look like find out why you feel that way. Because a man, like a home, is where somebody feels safe. So I got to go to work. Like myself, when my spouse was saying those things, I was like, you need to search it through your heart, because me, I'm good. Like when I'm at work, like when I'm in the office, I get excited to come home because I don't have problems. Home is where I feel safe. Home is where I know that I'm living with the men that I love with all my heart. I live with my children that I love with all my heart. They accept me for me. So it's just that happiness within it, that peace. When you live with somebody and you have peace within you, that is true love. But if there is no peace, there's content within your heart, like there's contest, like you find that you're contesting. I was telling like we meet up with the other students every Tuesday, and they were telling me what they do with their spouse, how they get upset when their spouse put their socks on the floor, or they don't put things or their clothes where they need to be. And I said to them, first, you need to look at yourself, because all of us, we have our faults. Look at what your spouse had to have to tolerate with you, and then you look at these socks that they've left on the floor. are they really important for you to hold something in your heart for the socks? And I was so glad one of the girls said, Nomsa, I have peace within me. And I was like, what do you mean? He was like, I'm picking socks with grace, with gratitude. And I find that that does not annoy me. I just feel so happy in my relationship. And I was like, sometimes we create problems ourselves where there is no problems. Like Amanda, you said before that you like hiking. And when you meet guys, they lie and say, sometimes they don't lie. They feel that is going to work. They're like, oh, I like hiking. And then when 3 weeks goes by, they're like, ah, oh, I don't think that's what I like. They're like, you go, honey. I'll be cooking when you come back. We can hang out. So, oh, it's just the little things that brings happiness to you, that gives that true love. And also knowing why we are with that person, the gratitude. Because some people, they crucify their lives, or simply they date people because they don't want, they want to be with somebody. Being the idea of living with this somebody, it sounds good. So that means I have to settle for something that I don't really want to be with,
Mm-hmm.
that cause pain. But when you find a woman who is in love, you don't have to. I've met my clients sometimes when I speak to them, or I've met people that are in love. When I speak to them, they have no doubt about their spouse. And anything, any doubt, they're like, oh, that's my spouse, that I love her. So all those things, like, if you love somebody, you have peace with it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the only word, the one word that I can find. Even if you have two children with somebody, where there is peace, that is true love.
I like that because so often people are looking for the like highs, right? And then there's like the lows, but like it's that level like peace place that you can be like, this is my person, right? Because you just feel at peace with them. And I think that would be something about looking into your patterns with like good to great relationships and raising the bar is like asking yourself that question is, do you feel at peace? And if you don't, then can you work together to get there? Or maybe that's time to be like, maybe we need to take our separate roads, right? And I think really like in business or in anything, you want to be like excited about what you do, right? Like I know for myself, like I love teaching and I love working with kids. I really struggle with the structure of this education system, but like I love it enough to like be willing to like overlook those hard parts of my job, the like paperwork parts that I'm like, oh, this is so stupid. To be like the rest of the time I get to just play with the kids and we get to like do really cool projects and learn really cool things and I'm inspired by their curiosities and their creativity. And I love that I have the flexibility to do really amazing projects. But it is that like flow and that like, where do I feel at peace? And I feel at peace in the classroom when I get to, when we're, and there's times where I just sit and I'm like, ah, they're getting it. They're getting it. Like things are working. This is so wonderful. Right. And so I think that's something that like just like knowing that peace in your heart. And I know for myself too, there was times that I wish I had gone to law school because my first degree is in political science and then my second degree is in teaching and my third one is a master's of education. And I like sometimes would wish that I had gone to law school, but at the same time I'm like teaching is really like part of my soul and it is part of like it is good really fantastic career for me because it allows me as a single mom to be able to be off at the same times as my daughter and be able to spend every summer with her and be able to have winter break and spring break off with her and we always are like doing things together. And so I think sometimes that like good to great is really just like being grateful for what it is in your life that is really great and then being able to like set aside those things that maybe are making your career or something like that a little bit more difficult, but just like showing up with the gratitude for the things that are going really well and do help you feel at peace. Because when you focus on those things that are going really well and do make you feel at peace, then more of that's going to show up for you. At least I think anyways. If we're looking for peace, then more peace is going to show up in our lives, right? We can just like take some deep breaths and do our diaphragm breathing, and it's going to actually calm our nervous system in whatever situation we're in, right? Or do some yoga poses that are designed to like center and ground you. And when you do that, you can like bring peace into that moment, into this present moment right now, by just like focusing on your breath or focusing on some really grounding poses that are going to keep you in this present moment and allow your whole body to reset and feel regulated.
Yeah, and also like Amanda, you're suggesting doing exercises, it does help because sometimes we may feel that um if we don't feel that peace within us, we may feel that is the person that we are dating, or it could be business, or it could be just any relationship, like to raise the bar and achieve your goals. Sometimes it could be we are our enemies. So it's very, very important to work on yourself when whatever you do, because this personal development journey is a never-ending journey. Just keep working on yourself. And if I look at when I began my cleansing and where I am now, I feel that peace within me, but before there was such a heavy burden within me that I could feel, but I don't feel that anymore. So it's important to work on yourself and know who you are as a person, where you need to be. Like Amanda, you are a writer. You write your books, you teach the kids, you are happy when you are in that lane where you need to be. It could easily, somebody could just come in and say, oh, why are you doing the things that you do? You could be this, you could be that, but that's not what you desire. That's not what you desire. So for me, I always say, if somebody truly, truly love you for who they say they love you, or if you have friends or family members, they accept you for who you are, they would not want you to change for what they desire. So it's important for anyone that is watching that never change to fit in with your friends, never change to fit in with the person you are dating. The only thing with the dating is when you're in a relationship with somebody, you have to have a clear vision of what you want with that person, and that vision, it has to align with the other person. And then you cry together, you do all these things together, and knowing that life is not like a relationship is not easy. It's a journey where you two people have to come as one, supporting each other, embracing the differences as two people. You don't become like twins, because some people, they're like they want to be twins. It does not work like that. So all this important, even business networking, the person that you connect with the business, never change your language to try to fit in with them. Because if they're truly, truly business people that are there as your helper to help you to take your life to the next level, they will motivate you as the person you are. You will grow with them together and grow and take your life to the next level, but you wouldn't change your attitude or your character to fit them in. The attitude that changes, and the character is the character that changes for better, like how you show up as a business person, how the attitude towards creating goals and the show, showing up and following through things that you said you will do. And it's all those things. But anything else that requires you to pretend, I would say just get out. I don't pretend with business networking. I just be me. When I meet people, I just put my pitch, whatever I need to pitch, and I just learn from those people. I just improve myself, grow, but I don't change to fit in with them.
I like what you said about not changing, because I think so often we like don't show up as our authentic selves. And when we don't show up as our authentic selves, that's when we end up in like situations where we're like, I don't feel completely aligned, because you're not showing up as your authentic best version of yourself, right? And so when we want to show up as our authentic selves, we really have to ask ourselves, like, is this truly me? Is this truly what I want? Is this truly aligned with my goals and hopes and dreams? And when we can ask ourselves that and really truly show up as our authentic selves, and one of my favorite, my very best friend, I love her to bits, because she's taught me how to show up as my authentic self each and every day, just from watching her show up as that each and every day, and her going outside the social norms of just like life in general, and just being this presence, this like genuine presence that so often people are not, because they don't show up as their authentic selves. And that's something that I'm like super grateful for, is for having friendships with people who can model that, showing up as your authentic self each and every day, and not just shrinking yourselves right, in order to show up the way that other people might want you to show up as. And I think that's something that really shifts our life from good to great and raises the bar too, is asking yourself, am I showing up as my most authentic self today? And
I
if you're
like.
not, yeah, then like, what are you going to change? Sorry, go ahead, Nomza.
No, you go ahead. You were not finished. Sorry.
No, I lost my line of thought.
There's a girl. She's going to be on Dating Diamond. She's one of the contestants on Dating Diamond TV series, and she was she's always naked when she's dressed. So she made me laugh yesterday. So we were talking about the clothes. Because they are looking to find somebody to dress them, to actually design their clothes and dress them. So she was like, they better get somebody really honestly who is reasonable to dress us, because if I have to bring my clothes, Nomsa, I don't think I owe anything under my my thighs. So I just laughed and I was like, you what now? She was like, honestly, I've accepted myself for who I am, but I don't own anything that is decent dressed. So it would be nice because we are required to dress decent. It would be nice if somebody can dress me up. So I just laughed and I was like, it is so nice to meet somebody who is really authentic and who is not afraid, who knows who they are and what they represent. And even if people is like, she was like, no, I've been judged by so many people. But I realize that it's just me who just need to accept myself. And I know that how I dress is sometimes is crazy, but that's yeah, sometimes that's who I am. And I was like, that actually I like you because you're honest. And she was like, yeah, that's me. And I was like, wow, I'm sure there's a reason why we cross paths. So it's very, very important to, when you raise the bar and become great, you know, people remember those who cross path with you, they'll remember you. They
Mhm.
will never forget you if you're authentic, honestly.
Well,
So
right. It's that, and people can feel the authenticity, right? You can feel that even if you're not conscious of that, you can actually like your subconscious mind would knows when people aren't being authentic, or if they're being fake, or if something doesn't just quite feel right in that situation, right? And we go back to my dating experience that we talked about, where people are like, oh yeah, I hike, I snowboard, and I'm like, oh, what's the last hike you did? And they're like, oh, like 3 years ago. I'm like, that's not hiking. Well, like, you don't actually like to hike. Like, I usually go like once or twice a month. Like, that's hiking. That's and for me, that's like a pretty good getting out to the mountains. But there are people who go every single weekend, right? And so then to that person, I would be like a not really a hiker, but like, or a snowboarder, right? Like, if for people who ski and snowboard, they'll be like, oh yeah, I ski and snowboard. I'm like, oh, how often do you get out a year? And they'll be like, oh, I haven't been in 3 years. And I'm like, that's not really like, that's not aligned at all. You're not showing up as your authentic self. Or I'm like, I go like about 10 times a year minimum, right? And but there's other people that I know that like get 30 to 60 days in a year. I'm like, with my job, I can't do that because I'm in the classroom teaching. But if your version of showing up and snowboarding is like 30 to 60 days, like I'm not your person, because like this is the amount of time that I can show up and be out there. But I'm not saying that I am that 30 to 60 day a year type of person. I'm the, okay, I go on weekends and I take my daughter and we go about every second weekend, and that's how I show up when the snow's good, right? And so I think when we're trying to like go from good to great too, we have to really be like honest with who we truly are and what it is that we truly want, and how we show up, especially for ourselves in business, for ourselves, and then for ourselves in relationships too. Because having something great is going to be all aligned with how we're showing up for ourselves and how we are being authentically ourselves.
Yeah, it is important to be authentic, because if you are authentic, you inspire others. You show up with integrity, and upholding high ethical standards, and also you empower other people as well, and those around you. So, but if you're not showing up authentic, people can feel it that is fake. So it's very, very important. I would just prefer people that show up themselves for themselves and be who they want to be. Like, I've met people that say, no, I used to be miserable. I used to have lots of friends, but the day I decided to find happiness within me, people think I've gone crazy, I've gone mad. But I'm like, but you are true to yourself. So if you find that happiness within yourself, who cares what people think? So just raise standards and find that greatness and be great and show up. Business wise, show up for yourself, for your business. Relationship wise, show up for your relationship, for your spouse and for yourself, for your children if you have kids. If you are single, be happy being single. I just cannot stand the people that they are single and they cannot be happy. I'm like, you do know that tomorrow you could meet somebody and this today is wasted. Just be happy for this day that we are alive, and because no one knows what tomorrow brings. So for me, if I'm in a relationship, I embrace every moment. If I'm single, I just embrace not sharing the toilet with anybody and or food with anybody, just my children, and just be happy until I meet that person. So just be happy because life is so precious. And finding that raising high standard, it means unapologetic. Show up authentic and accept yourself for who you are and be who you want to be. Show up for your business. If you have a business, work hard. Even if it's 2 hours, make that 2 hours worthwhile. Or 1 hour, work hard and just be happy, not being miserable. So yeah, that's
So I have to get going because I have to
yeah,
get
we have to. Yeah, we have to. Do you have any words of
today.
encouragement, Amanda, before you
Yeah,
go?
as you were just talking, I just kind of summed up some of the themes that we talked about today and for going from good to great. And so one is to really show up authentically and to just be your true authentic self in every situation. And when you can start showing up authentically, things are going to change and shift. And two is be conscious of when you're settling and then have like a discussion with yourself about why are you settling in these areas, and then how are you going to shift in that area as well. Number three is to set goals that are aligned and be consistent and be consistently working towards those goals and hold yourself accountable, or get an accountability partner that's going to help you take steps and hold you accountable to actually get there and in whatever it is that you're doing. And it could be, if you are very A-type personality like me and you can just write in a journal and then be content with checking off your checkbox and like be consistent with it when you're in a routine, then yeah, do that. Otherwise, get a coach or somebody to help you. And then number four is fail forward and learn from your mistakes and take any failure as an opportunity to learn and grow. Otherwise, you're destined to repeat those same failures in a different like setting, but it's going to be that same lesson that life is trying to teach you over and over again. So when we go from good to great and we raise the bar, we are really looking at ourselves as a whole and kind of following those themes. And so whatever it is that you want to do to raise your bar and to go from good to great, I really just start from within and start showing up authentically yourself.
I thank you so much, Amanda. Guys, apply these principles that Amanda has mentioned. They're very, very important. And also, being great, it means if you want to achieve what you want to achieve in life and live like achieving that greatness, the journey will require effort. It will require dedication, and it will require a willingness to push beyond your limits and find that happiness that you want. It might sound really hard when you do it. It might seem like even sometimes when life does not make sense, that means the door of being great is being opened. So keep pushing, keep showing up for yourself, and surround yourself with the right people. And know that everything in the end, it always work out with a celebration. So if you're watching us from YouTube, please subscribe to our channel. Any like Facebook, you can join our group, Ngozi Talk Show group and Unique Billionaire Mindset group, and like our page and be part of the family, guys. God bless and live with grace. I shall see you tomorrow. Amanda will see you guys next week, Wednesday.